What's up, guys? It's episode 50 of Beers in the Lot. We kind of bounced around a little bit this episode, but we talked about the Hurricanes and Nedeljkovic, Ned, and a few other contract topics regarding free agency and draft and all that stuff. We also talked about the concept of playing big. Even though your frame may not be that big, you can still be big on the ice. So let's get to it. Let's open beers.
So unprepared. I don't have my glass. What the fuck?
Aaron and I are Team Can.
Team Can tonight.
Mm-hmm. What are you drinking over there, Aaron?
I am tapping the Rockies tonight. The mountains are blue. It's Coors Light for me. How about you, John?
I am drinking from Rogue Brewery, the American Lager Dreamland. Perfect can art, so that was a can art selection. Won't even lie. Rogue makes good stuff, but still. Danny, what are you drinking this evening?
Now that I got a glass. I'm drinking Magic Hat Brewing Company, number 9. It's been around for a while, and I haven't had it in a long time. It's still really fucking good. What are you drinking, Riggs?
I think I had this on here before. It's in the Trogs Summer 15 pack, but the lime and raspberry tart ale. It's a lot like a sour, but it's not a sour. Pretty good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
not bad. It's refreshing considering it's been like 100 degrees outside with humidity.
Oh, it was fucking brutal today.
Yeah, it was brutal last night in the parking lot. You
Oh,
walk out of the rink and it's like a soup. It's like 80% humidity. It's terrible.
I almost couldn't eat those 3 tacos out of the party pack.
Almost. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Because
We could talk about how
There's not a lot.
those degenerates in Tampa busted the cup.
eh,
That's
I
about
don't know.
it.
I thought we already.
Like-
I thought we already did
we
that.
kind of
Did we?
I don't know if we said anything about it or not, but it's kind of old at this point too. Like that was like
It's old news.
a month ago.
Pat Maroon even shaved his beard already.
Annie
old
pissed his
news.
pants. Oh yeah.
Well,
That's every day.
Yeah.
What day is it?
I feel like he
Yeah.
acts like that kid from like Ricky Bobby during the championship parades. He's like, someone yelled at me because we won, and I sat all day in my pissy pants. Like the little kid from Ricky Bobby. That's Pat Maroon just walking around in his pissy pants. But really, like, yeah, that's done. Expansion draft kind of went like everyone expected. Seattle was sensible, drafted essentially a team for the future, gave themselves some
I don't know.
flexibility. Right?
I don't know if I'd say it went as everyone expected.
No.
I don't think a lot of people
What?
actually thought Carey Price and Tarasenko were going to go, though.
Really?
I don't think a lot of people really truly believed it. We
Okay.
kind of hinted, but we kind of know, like, no way, right? It would have been cool to see, but I don't think they were going to really.
I don't know. I kind of expected them to take one or the other at least. But
One
Who knows?
superstar.
Somebody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
somebody, as opposed
They're-
to basically nobody.
Their D's pretty
I mean,
solid.
Yanni
though.
Gord isn't nobody, but
Yeah, Yanni Gord's not a nobody. Tanev's not a nobody. I think their D's not bad. I think they got pretty solid D core, right?
I mean, if the idea is that you need a big name player or a big face to put on billboard outside your arena, then yeah, Tanev was a good choice.
The
Well,
crazy
remember-
eyes.
I'll remember what I said about him. Danny
Uh.
sent the picture of Tanev with his long locks, and I said, "That's not my Brandon Tanev. He looks socially adjusted." So I was kind of glad. Like they're like, "All right, like just let this guy go." But I mean, outside of Giordano, yeah, not a lot of fanfare really, and it was also the first time.
They're sitting at like 28 mil now, right? I think is what I saw.
Yeah,
that's not
Are they even at the
the
basement?
floor.
And
The
they
basement's like-
already they already started trading guys away. Like they traded
Did they?
Pitlick. Yeah, they traded
Yeah, they
him
got
away.
rid of Pitlick the next day.
He was a Kraken for like 26 hours.
Yeah.
Raise the jersey to the rafters.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, free agency starts actually when the podcast comes out. Free agency will already be going on, so they'll have Lando and a few other guys already in Kraken jerseys. So it'll be great. You know.
Whoa.
I'm just gonna spray gas on that fire.
Only time will tell.
I just don't. Right, Riggs? I mean, you follow more Colorado stuff than I do because I'm too deep in other teams for obvious reasons. But what do you think they get a deal done? Like, probably not at this point, right?
I don't know. Like everybody today was really negative about it. Everything that I saw, everybody was like, they've reached an impasse and they're not going to come together on the term or the dollar amount. So he's going to go somewhere else. And then it's like, okay, who could fit him in, blah, blah, blah. But I think at the end, like Wednesday afternoon, he'll be signed with the Avs again. I don't think it works any other way.
Do you think it's because he wants to win now, and that team truly does give him, like, unless he could somehow sign with like the Avs or Vegas, who else is really like, would you go, oh, they're like top 4 team to contend, right? Like with cap space.
Last week I said it would be interesting if like Toronto could figure something out. Like if they could work some sort of magic in his deal and let guys go or move guys out, which it appears like they're trying to do based on what's happening with a lot of their guys going out to Edmonton and some other things happening. But can they fit him in on a $60 million deal after they've got like 3 guys that are on, 10 million AAV? I don't know, man.
Well, I mean, Minnesota with the buyout, the 2 buyouts, they have.
Why would he go there though? Like,
yeah, good point, but I mean, Detroit has a ton of cap space. Carolina, but Carolina's not ponying up any dough. We know that.
No, they're
so.
For whatever reason, they're tightening the old purse strings, and
yeah, that always goes well.
I don't yeah.
Always goes well.
I don't get it, man, because they've been on this like upward trajectory the last couple years, and now they're gonna start like, I don't know, jettisoning guys out of whatever they're doing. I don't get it. Like, not major pieces, but like also guys that contributed significantly to some of the success in the last few playoff runs for them. So what the hell's going on down there? Lando's not going there. Let's just say that.
No,
now.
yeah.
Like, he's not he's not going to sign there if he gets to Wednesday. Yeah, what the hell are the Canes doing?
Yeah, that Nedeljkovic trade.
Well, and he only signed for like he signed.
I don't know.
The rumor was if he went to arbitration, he would get like $3 million. He signed in Detroit for 3.5.
For 3.5.
So like, we're not talking like Bobrovsky, Carey Price, Vasilevsky money. We're talking like a lot of the starting goaltenders in the league make 5.5 to 7.5. With like Bob, Carey, and Vasi making in the 10s. And you let a guy who took you to the playoffs, did pretty well. He was in your organization since they drafted him, and they let him walk for $500,000. Like, that's what we're talking about.
You know what? And that whole like developing somebody and then just letting them go like that bothers me to no end, because you spent all that time and all those resources on that player, and then to ship them off that way over like $500K. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And they
Doesn't
can't be
make
in
any
cap
sense.
trouble.
Nope.
No, I don't think. No.
52 mil.
Yeah, they're fine.
That's their total cap hit.
They're fine.
Jesus.
And
They're
that's
trying to be the Florida Marlins.
Ned posted a better than 92% save percentage in the playoffs. Like if you have a goalie that's playing that well for you, you're going to win games if you can score goals. So maybe you just give him the money that he needed to stay, and you prioritize scoring goals. Their top line is great. They've got that first line is set. They need to figure out that middle six. Their defense looked really good and has looked really good for like 4 years. They need scoring. So that should have been the priority, not like, oh, how do we figure out how to pay our starting goaltending? Like,
So who are they left with now?
They have 3 goaltenders now. They have
Mrazek, Reimer,
Jonathan Bernier.
and Bernier.
Yeah. In the trade for Nedeljkovic, whatever. Ned.
Just
Do
say
you know,
Ned.
do you know where
Nedeljkovic.
he's from?
Just
Do you
call
know-
him Ned, yeah.
Do you know where he's from?
That sounds like a Czech name.
No.
Where's
He's
he
American. He's from Parma,
from?
Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's from Ohio. That's funny. I'm probably way off with the actual
Aaron, it's pronounced Wah.
It's pronounced.
Yeah.
But here's something that actually, John, you might be able to help me out with this. In that
Okay.
trade, they traded Ned for Bernier, who is now a UFA. But
Yeah.
what's the point of
It's his
trading a
rights.
UFA
You get negotiation
But-
rights right off the bat.
if he's a UFA? What does that entail? Like, what kind of rights do you get on an unrestricted free agent?
You get
Isn't that
first
what UFA
negotiate.
means?
First
Yeah,
negotiate.
you can negotiate with them first.
So for example,
But
like
he could just
Landau.
say no and then
Yeah.
So,
test
and
the
then walk
market
Wednesday.
like
Yep.
let's
and
I'll
then
use,
say, okay, now I didn't get any offers, so I'll take your deal.
yeah, and I'll
like,
use
it
like
seems like
Landau.
it's
So let's say a week
silly.
ago, let's just say Colorado would have traded Lando to the New York Rangers, who do have the cap space. Let's just say hypothetically, they would have had the full week up until technically Wednesday at like noon when free agency opens to essentially the only people that could negotiate with him. Colorado would have given up the rights because they traded Lando there, and New York would have sole ownership of his rights, and that's it. And
it seems like those rights
So-
are worthless for the most part.
No, it's good because they could do an
Let's
extension.
get a deal
on-
done.
They do extensions off of that.
exactly,
like-
you could do an 8-year versus 7.
Right.
Huh. I guess if I'm a player, I don't see the point. If I'm about to be a UFA, why wouldn't I let the market? I guess maybe it's like a good sign of goodwill to negotiate with the one team first or something like that. Maybe it's a better sign that you want to be with the org or something like that. But it seems to me that if I'm trying to make money, then I'd let the market tell me what I'm worth. But,
They already know.
Mhm.
Like everybody that's involved already knows. Like the agents have all like their agencies have staffs that have done all the research. They know what the market's gonna pay them. There's even though it's not supposed to happen or whatever officially, there are discussions that go on. Teams can give the player permission and the agent permission to go find deals or whatever. Like there's all this stuff that goes on. Like everybody
That makes
already
sense.
knows what the number is. And so now it's like,
Right.
how does each side get the best deal, out of that?
Gotcha.
And I think for him, it more than anything else with him, he's pissed off that Colorado didn't try to do anything in between the end of the season and and this week coming up with free agency. He wanted them to do the extension, so it was all locked in. He's the guy. He's the captain. You know, he's coming back. It's going to be him, Rantanen, and Thick Boy running the show. You know, like the whole thing. But I think he's felt like he's been dangled out there now, and he's pissed off about it for whatever reason. Who knows? You know, there could be like a family concern, or like, you know, there might be something else going on that he wanted that deal, or he needed that deal, you know, sooner or whatever. But he's like, I always say it's a, you know, smoke and fire thing. Like, there's a lot of stuff coming out the last few days about him being very upset about the situation and potentially becoming full, you know, unrestricted.
Guess we'll see on Wednesday. Going back to Carolina, though, real quick.
Yeah.
Of Bernier, Reimer, and Mrazek, I mean,
they're all UFAs, I believe, right?
They're all UFAs.
Yeah, they're all UFAs.
And what's also funny is that Bernier made $3 million a year last year. He's not going to make it his next time around, but it's funny to be.
The only thing I can think of. So, like, the only UFA goalie that I could really think that's like kind of worth, and I wouldn't even say
they've got to be under $3 million.
It has to be
apparently
like Freddie Anderson. But I mean, really, like, I like Freddie Anderson. I think he's a capable goalie, but I don't think that's an upgrade necessarily for Carolina. And you're going to have to pay him more. Like, yeah, more experience.
They couldn't come off that.
It's a really perplexing move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because I think that they got like a 3rd round pick or something like that.
And Dougie Hamilton's leaving. And they traded Jake Bean.
And the Dougie Hamilton thing didn't make any sense either. Like, why wouldn't you? Right? Why wouldn't you figure something out for him? He's a key piece of that blue line,
and he's a good piece. Like, not just
especially,
key, he's good.
Like, they had, like, Slavin has missed time the last 2 playoffs, right? And they were able to advance. So I don't understand.
Yeah, it's just
the only thing that Canes fan can hope for is Canes fans. The Canes fan.
You're right, fan.
We know
I
one.
I only know of one.
We know one.
I only know of one.
Hi, Mike.
Yeah, we only know of one.
The only thing that Canes fans can hope for is that somebody's got a really big plan and free agency is going to just turn the team in a completely different direction than it looks like they're going. I guess we'll see.
If I was a fan of that team, I would be concerned that they're trying to save their pennies to make a really big, you know, high dollar multi-year UFA signing this week that will become a boat anchor contract in the future. That would be my fear. Is that
they have $29 million to work with, so they could do a couple of those. But
yeah, that's the one thing. Like, as a Penguins fan, I'm kind of happy. Like, we haven't done a lot of that. I mean, we signed bad contracts. Let's not forget.
Yeah, they're in cap hell right now. They're trying to get out.
Yeah, they're cap hell, but you know, they don't have a Tarasenko like deal, or, you know, they have kind of the Jack Johnson issue right now that they're going to have the 1.6 on the cap because of the buyout and blah, blah, blah. But, like, the worst thing you could have, or 2 problems, I think, when you have a high dollar contract. Number one, the player is a depreciated value and you can't move them. So you either have to eat money or essentially get nothing back, or you have kind of what St. Louis sounds like they have, where it's a contract with a pretty decent sized tag for a guy who is semi-damaged and he doesn't want to play there, it sounds like. That's even worse, because then as an organization, you have no strength moving him. You're not negotiating from a position of strength. I would say Buffalo's in the same realm too. And then you have the other reports too with Jack Eichel that they haven't released the medical records to some of the teams that have been inquiring about him, which is another problem. Because, I mean, we talked about it like a few weeks ago. Like, if I was a team trying to buy the Jack Eichel car, if you will, like, I need to see the Carfax. Like,
Yep.
I don't want to see it. And if you, like, there's I just bought a vehicle. There's a reason I bought brand new. I want to be the only one with Carfax.
There it is.
You know,
like, mild fender bender.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mild road rage with middle finger and obscenities. Yeah. Right. I mean, if you're Carolina, do you want to get into that dead weight contract nonsense? I don't think that's something they want.
Nobody should. Nobody should want to get into that.
That would be my fear. Like not even just for them. Like any of these teams that seem to be like saving up their salary cap space for whatever reason. Like that would be my fear, is that they go out and they sign some like mid-career UFA that has had success in the past, but is starting to go into their declining years. So basically you're paying for their past and you're not going to reap the benefits of that. That would be my concern. And then 2 years into the deal, now it's something you can't move. So you're either in a buyout situation or whatever, you know, like that would be my concern.
Yeah. Like the Eichels and the Landeskog's and so on. Like if you're really looking to draw that talent and the only way you can do it is with money, then it's going to be short-term gain, maybe short-term gain, long-term loss.
Yeah. Because if you go out there and you spend that money and that's the only player you can bring in, okay, now it's the only player that you could bring in. What are you doing around them?
If one guy's not going to, adding one guy to your roster is not going to win you the cup. Adding two guys like that is not going to win you the cup. It's just not going to happen.
No. And again, going back to Carolina, they need to figure out that middle six. They need to figure out, like, is Nino gonna start producing a little bit more? He's starting to get into the back half of his career. He's been around a minute. Like, they have those type of players that, you know, maybe there are better ways to attack this problem. Just don't, like, if I was a fan of that team, like, again, I would just be like, please, guys, don't go out and sign somebody to some like $7 million plus 5-year plus deal. Like, do not do it, please, because that's just going to be it's going to be a boat anchor for them cap wise. So whatever. Tom Dundon sucks. You know he's pulling the strings.
Yeah. I just don't get that guy. Like, you heard all the stuff initially when he came on. He slashed a bunch of social and marketing people, and then he said like scouting could be done virtually because he didn't want to pay gas bills and stuff and travel expenses. And like, I mean, that's just not that to me. Like, and I get it. Like, I'm sure, I'm not saying any scout was milking it, because that profession is insanely tough, and a lot of scouts in the NHL operate on 1-year deals, which is insane because the work they put in for that year or 18-month block to make, for example, this last draft happen, if they're on an organization that essentially cleans house in their scouting department, that player could become something 3-4 years down the line, maybe even 5 or 6, and they're long gone in another organization. Like, their work isn't even, it's more on the development staff and how you exercise
some of those scouts. How do they even quantify that they've done a good job? It's like, I rated this guy as a pretty good choice, but did he? Then I was gone the next 2 years before he was drafted or whatever. Like, how do you even quantify that you did a good job?
Well, and if you notice too, like some organizations, so I would say like Tampa Bay, I would definitely categorize them as a good drafting organization. Every year, they try to target a specific type of player. They want guys that are fast, very skilled, and to be honest, like height wise and size, they don't seem to have a preference. They're more like, we want to find the best value picks we can, possibly regardless of where they played, whoever, anywhere. They don't care. And then you have other, teams that do have a type, if you will, and that doesn't work out for them because guess what? That type of player, if you like, we're talking about a type of player, however you want to call it, like a silhouette of what you want, that could shift from year to year. And how many GMs after, the cup final happens are like, we need players like this because that team won. And it's totally like, look at last year was Tampa and Dallas. Okay. This year was Montreal and Tampa. So Tampa had a formula, it worked, but Tampa played two different teams in the cup finals, two completely different rosters. So if you're looking at teams going, oh, we got to be more like that, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. I want to talk about something that John said last night in the lot, actually. I think it was last night you said. You were talking about how some of the guys, you see them on the ice, you see them skate or whatever, and you think to yourself that dude's probably huge. And then you see him out on the pads, and then they're like nothing. I forget who you were talking about, John, but you said
was
it Oshie?
I was talking about Oshie when Eric and I saw him. He was a lot.
Hold on, before you
not
start.
As wide.
Before you start, that is really weird because, my team's goalie and we were the first two in the room last night, and third guy came in, and he had been at the hockey shop down the road, and he was checking out some equipment, looking at new skates. He did the Bauer 3D fit thing or whatever, and while he was doing it, he saw Mike Green getting his kid fitted for skates. But he didn't recognize him at first because he just saw a dude with like all these arm tattoos and the hand tattoo and all that. And then he saw him and he
thought he was
like,
a hipster.
He was like, he's like, that guy looks really familiar. And then he like got like closer. I don't know what the story was, but then he like got a good look at him and he's like, oh, it's Mike Green. He looks a lot shorter than his listed 6'1" or whatever they listed him at and the thing. Wow. And then I told the story about Oshie to those guys. So that's really weird that you actually talked about it this basically at the same time.
Somehow we were talking. So Eric and I had the privilege of skating with Oshie a few years ago when we were doing mites together. And Eric and I gave him the skills and the necessarily knowledge to go on and win a Stanley Cup. Because in the time he didn't have that. So
without that skate,
I think
no
it was
cup for Washington.
I think it was my little battle station I was running on the wall there. I think that helped him out a lot.
You got some ideas.
Yeah.
Anyway, where I was going with it was that like John was saying that Oshie, his shoulders aren't nearly as wide as looks like he is on the ice, right? Like he's not a little guy or anything, but he
looks big.
He's probably
looks
not
really
as big as he is on the ice.
So the way I describe him is he plays real big, right? He plays big. He's always like, he's very physical. He'll initiate contact even when he has the puck, like all that kind of stuff. So there's sort of a second half to like when we met Oshie. So that was like the AAA. They were doing like a thing where he would go around to rinks and skate with kids or whatever. Part of that was if you submitted like social media posts to whatever hashtag they were using, they would pick like random kids to go to like a AAA suite at Caps game and then meet him after the game, like go downstairs or whatever. So my son got picked for it. Unfortunately, there were only two people were allowed in the suite. So my wife went with my son in the suite because I've lived that suite life before. I know how it is. And and my buddy
donated again.
my buddy and I, non-hockey buddy and I, got seats upstairs. Well, then they invited us to come down to the suite, so we went down there, and then we got to go downstairs and meet Oshie. So there's a picture of my buddy and I standing with Oshie, and he only comes like up just above my shoulder, and I'm like in between 6'1", 6'2", like 6'1.5", something like that. He like the top of his head came just above my shoulder on street shoes. So he's not that tall, but I think he's just super strong and he plays big. Like,
right.
You know.
Mhm.
Speaking of playing big, one of the guys that we talk about a lot, thick boy hockey, Nathan MacKinnon. I saw something today. It was him and his good buddy Sid playing golf with two other no-name podcasters who used to be Penguins players, you know. No-namers, you know. Don't even pay attention to them.
Shots fired.
Oh
But
boy.
McKinnon's the littlest guy there, like by far. And you talk about playing big. He looks massive on the ice, but not so much out of pads, not so much on a golf course, I guess. But dude plays big. Thick boy hockey is no joke. He just runs over people on the ice. But it's really weird. I don't know. It struck me as that. I was thinking about that's a really weird phenomenon.
That kind of reminds me. This was years and years ago. So Eric and I have been to a few Bears games. One time we stayed out to kind of watch a bunch of the Bears come because Eric had his son there. So him and I were just kind of standing, and Eric just said, he goes, "Hey, when Chris Bourque comes out, you should take a picture with him," because him and I during the game, I looked at him from the ice and I said straight up to Riggs, and I am 5'1". I'm a very short individual. And I made the joke. I was like, he's like 2 inches taller than me, like joking. And Eric goes, "No, he's not. You're an idiot." Well, Chris Bourque and I took a photo together, and afterwards Eric's like, "All right, maybe not 2 inches, but it's not that far off." Like Chris Bourque, not that big. But at the American Hockey League level, we mentioned it, was a beast.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Beast.
He's sick. Yeah.
Super talented, great hand-eye, great vision for the ice.
One of the best power play point men in the American League ever. Like, no clearing attempts went by him. He just knocked them down. It's amazing. Amazing to watch.
Playing big. It's a thing.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
I was like Danny a few weeks ago. He ran over somebody on the way to the net, scored a goal. We called him Eric Lindros.
I've done that a couple times though.
Yeah. You just barrel your way to the
Daniel's
net.
way.
That Heisman, that guy.
You look like a young Franco, like a young
spit take.
just like a young Jerome Bettis just running people over on your way into the end zone.
He came at me aggressively. I didn't like that.
Didn't like the look of it.
Danny just stiff-armed him, gave him the Heisman.
And so ends another episode of Beers in the Lot. Let me take a second to ask you to rate and review us on your favorite podcatcher. Follow us on the social medias at Beers in the Lot, and join us on Discord at beersinthelot.com/Discord. If you really want to help us out, check out Patreon at beersinthelot.com/Patreon and score yourself a koozie or a pint glass in the process. Thanks again for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next week.